Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, I'm bringing you guys Week 12 defenses to stream for fantasy football in 2020. Inside of this video, we are going to be discussing my top 5 defenses to add off of the waiver wire before week number 12 commences to help you guys eat that W like your name was famous, Jameis Winston, in week number 12 of the 2020 fantasy football season. If you guys want more help to win your 2020 fantasy football championship, you are in the correct place. For that, please make sure that you guys hit that subscribe button down below. Not only is it free, I put out content every single day to help you guys win that 2020 fantasy football championships. Without further ado, let's get into it. Week 12 defenses to stream. We begin with the Cleveland Browns at the Jacksonville Jaguars, and this one is quite the obvious matchup. The Browns defense laid the murder game down on the Philadelphia Eagles like their name was O.J. Simpson. Week 11 versus the Philadelphia Eagles for the Browns defense. They had 5 sacks, 2 INTs, 1 fumble recovery, 1 safety, 1 tutty, and 17 points allowed. They absolutely ate the Philadelphia Eagles for breakfast, and the Philadelphia Eagles aren't even that bad of a team. And that may be kind of an over-exaggeration because the Eagles are kind of fucking ass. It's just the whole NFC East is so bad. But at the end of the day, it's not like the Eagles' offense can't score. They did end up scoring 17 points, but just the ferocious attack of the Browns' defense without Myles Garrett. Think about this. Without Myles Garrett, they had 5 sacks, 2 INTs, 1 fumble recovery, a safety, a touchdown. In this matchup this week, it seems like Myles Garrett may be able to return in this matchup, so it's going to be even more dangerous up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Steelers' defense also had a game up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, the Steelers have one of the best defenses in the NFL, but I won't discount their performance up against the Steelers and say that the Browns couldn't do the exact same thing. The Steelers last week up against the Jags had 2 sacks, 4 INTs, and 3 points allowed. Do not be surprised if the Cleveland Browns defense does this to the Jacksonville Jaguars. While they aren't as good as the Steelers, the Browns are a much better team than the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I think the Browns absolutely eviscerate them. Their defense plays very good up against Jake Luton and friends in Jacksonville, so I'm going to list the Cleveland Browns as my number 1 defense to add for this week. Coming in at number 2, we have the Green Bay Packers versus the Chicago Bears. Now, Nick Foles, motherfucker dead. He is not going to be playing again probably for the rest of the season. So who's going to end up stepping up? Will it be that Bray guy that played at the end of that game? Probably not. It's probably going to be our favorite quarterback, kissing titties, Mitchell Trubisky. But with that said, Mitch is a bit prone to, fucking up, not playing great, making bad decisions, which result in points for the defense. The Green Bay Packers going up against the going up against the Chi-Town Bears this week. The Packers defense, week 11 at the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts had a pretty good game. They still got 1 sack, 1 INT, 1 fumble recovery, but they did allow 34 points in that matchup. But the Indianapolis Colts are a very, very, very solid team. I'm not saying they're one of the best teams in the NFL, but they seem like an easy lock to make the playoffs thus far this season. And I think up against the Chicago Bears is a much easier matchup for the Packers defense. The Vikings D up against the Chicago defense, or up against the Chicago offense. 2 weeks ago, the Chicago Bears had a bye. Last week, the Vikings had 2 sacks, 1 INT, 1 fumble recovery, and 13 points allowed. And we know how volatile the Vikings defense is. The Vikings got absolutely cock-smacked by the Dallas Cowboys offense yesterday. The Dallas Cowboys offense beat the Vikings, and the Vikings looked like superheroes. They looked like the whole fucking Avengers squad up against the Chicago Bears. So I think the Packers should have no problem, big fella, up against the Chicago Bears. They should be able to play very good on defense. Next matchup here, we got the New York Football Giants at the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, very sad, obviously, Joe Burrow ends up tearing his ACL. It was a horrific injury. I don't know if you guys were watching the game, but his fucking leg bent the wrong way. It did not look good at all, and you just had to know this was a torn ACL from the second it happened, and they confirmed it was, so we will not be seeing Joe Burrow for the rest of the season. Obviously something sad, but I'm sure the man will bounce back next year as long as that team blesses him with an offensive line, because I feel so bad for the man who fucking takes 3 steps back and there's 4 dudes in his face absolutely ready to knock this man into next year. So the Giants play the Cincinnati Bengals this week, and the Bengals quarterback in Cincinnati is likely going to be Ryan fucking Finley, who came in relief of Andy Dalton when they benched Andy Dalton on his birthday last year and played all right. But the Giants defense actually looks like a top 10 unit in the NFL from the defensive standpoint. Giants defense week 10 up against the Eagles, 3 sacks and 17 points allowed. The Washington defense last week up against the Cincinnati Bengals yesterday destroyed them. 4 sacks, 1 INT, 1 fumble recovery, and 9 points allowed. While I think that Ryan Finley will do much better in this matchup due to the fact that he is going to be ready to play this game. He's not coming off the week being the second fucking guy. He's the starter. I think he'll play a decent amount better, but the Giants defense is no pushover. pushover. They're no fucking joke. So I think the Giants will be able to play well up against a very injured Cincinnati Bengals offense, especially with an O-line that folds like a fucking table and is a goddamn turnstile to let you in. To be like, hey, you want to sack Ryan Finley? Why don't you just get on in here and fucking destroy him, because we don't give a shit about saving our quarterback. So if you guys have enjoyed this video thus far, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below if you have not already. And if you are new, please make sure to hit that like button. Next defense, here's the Washington football team at the Dallas Cowboys. Now, the Dallas Cowboys, no joke, looked good on Sunday, and I will not lie about that, but the Washington football defense is a step up from the Vikings defense that they played last week. The Washington football team, week 11 versus the Cincinnati Bengals, again, 4 sacks, 1 INT, 1 fumble recovery, and 9 points allowed. The Dallas Cowboys offensive line is not the Dallas offensive line when it was Tony Romo there, when they set a fucking brick wall so that Romo could not get hit, so that whatever running back was back there could run for 1,000,000 yards back when it was DeMarco Murray. Now, the offensive line is a certified fucking turnstile, and we have Chase Young coming for your ass. You better be scared, Andy Dalton. The Washington football team defense is too legit to quit. I love them this week against the Dallas Cowboys. The Vikings defense last week up against the Cowboys was not that good, though. 1 sack, 1 INT, and 31 points allowed. But Andy Dalton is prone to making some dumb decisions, and when the offensive line is going to get knocked over and bull rushed by a guy named Chase Young, I'd be very scared for the Dallas Cowboys offense. And the Dallas Cowboys, I believe this is the game that Andy Dalton got injured in a couple of weeks ago, so maybe this is a revenge game, and maybe I'm completely wrong, and Andy Dalton shoves his cock 30 inches down the Washington football team's throat, but at the end of the day, my personal lean would be that the Washington football team ends up playing very good on defense this game up against the Dallas Cowboys. And final defense to add, of the week is the Seattle Seahawks at the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, the Seattle defense has looked like shit this season, but recently they've kind of woken up. They did some smelling salts in the morning to get fired up and ready to goddamn roll so that they could be a good defense. Seattle defense week 11 versus one of the better offenses in the NFL, in my opinion, in the Arizona Cardinals, had 3 sacks, 1 safety, and only allowed 21 points in that matchup. Is the defense now better now that they have Jamal Adams? It kind of seems like it, because when Adams was hurt, this defense was completely atrocious. They would let anyone score some fucking fantasy points on him. You could have suited up and scored some fantasy points up against the Seattle defense. That's how bad they are. Now, I'm not saying there's some super defense now in the NFL because Jamal Adams is back. What I'm saying is they've looked a bit better, but this week they get the Philadelphia Eagles, and we talked about this earlier when I talked about the Cleveland Browns. The Browns took Carson Wentz and put him through a fucking meat grinder. 5 sacks, 2 INTs, 1 fumble recovery, 1 safety, 1 tutty, and 17 points allowed. So I'm not saying that the Seattle defense is going to destroy the Eagles, but what I'm saying is that they're a very good choice on this week where there's not too many defenses that you can find off the waiver wire to throw directly into your lineup. I don't expect Carson Wentz to look all that amazing in this matchup, but I don't expect Seattle to completely smother them because the defense just is not all that amazing. So thank you guys all so much for watching this video. If you did end up enjoying it at any point, please make sure that you guys hit that subscribe button down below. And if you're not new, please make sure you hit that like button. I love each and every single one of you beautiful bastards, and I hope you guys did end up having a great time. I've had a great time. We're almost at 11,000 subscribers. Hopefully we can hit that within this week. I really do appreciate the support you guys have shown me recently. I love you all. Don't want to keep you guys extra long today. Have a great rest of your guys' day. I love you all. Stay safe. Good boy.